Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking notes with me, Mr. Jankowski, today. We're on page 41 of our math notebook, and we're going to be taking a look at these examples here for lesson 6.2 about unit rate. Now, we've discussed unit rate before, several occasions, I believe, in class and in notes, but I want to give you the definition again for unit rate because this is going to be what we're talking about in these next few pages. So unit rate, this is a really important vocabulary word in math. It's a rate in which the second quantity is 1 unit. And I'm going to really underline this part right here. The second quantity is 1 unit. And the reason why I'm going to focus on that is because unit rate is really useful. And you see this all the time. So let me give you an example. Let's say you get there's a sale on Nintendo Switch games at Best Buy, and they're selling a whole bunch of them for $20 each. So Nintendo Switch games on sale for $20 each. Well, you could write this as a ratio, a unit rate, as $20 to 1 game. You could also write it like this as a fraction if you wanted to, $20 to 1 game. So each game is $20. And if you were to buy 3 games, well, you could say this then too, right? If you were to buy 3 games and they're each $20, you'd be ending up spending $60, right? Buy 3 games, cost $60. But this is the unit rate right here. This one. This is the one people care about most of the time. How much does it cost for 1 game? This is the unit rate. So we're going to be solving problems related to unit rate on these next few pages. And I want to go over this first page with you, some of these problems on the first page with you to get you started. Unit rate is something that you'll see a lot in stores. It's especially important when it involves money, right? So how much do you get for a certain amount of money? What's one thing you get for that much money? What's the unit rate? So we have this first example over here. And this is again on page 41 of your math notebook. And it says, Gerald signs up for classes shown. Use the information in the flyer to write a rate. What is the price per class? So we have yoga classes. This month's special is 6 classes for $90. So I could write that as $90 for 6 classes, right? Equally, I could also say 6 classes for $90. It really doesn't matter how I set up that ratio, but I could write it as a fraction like this. $90 for 6 classes equals how many dollars for 1 class? And Gerald wants to probably know how much is he going to spend to for each class when he's taking these yoga classes, right? It's kind of an important thing to know. So there's a few things we can do here. These are equivalent ratios, right? So we could say, well, let's change this variable from question mark, because that shouldn't be the variable, to U for unit rate. So what is U? Well, some of you are probably seeing this already and saying, well, if I take a 6 and I divide it by 6, I'll get 1 class, right? 6 classes divided by 6 equals 1. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. I could also do the same to 90. I could say 90 divided by 6 equals what? And let's see, I'll do that on the side here. 90 divided by 6. 6 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. Bring down that 0. 6 goes into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. So 15 times. So U equals 15. So how much does it cost per class? Well, it's $15 per class. The price per class is $15. Okay, so this is the unit rate. It's $15 per class. That's the unit rate. So if I was to really be clear in my answer, I would say the unit rate is $15. Or I could say $15 to one class. Okay. Now this one worked out pretty evenly, pretty quickly the way we did it. And we didn't need to use the butterfly method, but we could have if we wanted to. So let's call this one number 1, and let's call this one number 2. And let's look at number 2. It says the cost of cartons of milk. And by the way, if you're taking notes at home, feel free to pause the video and get caught up here and digest some of this information before moving on. I think that's important. But I'm going to move on here myself. The cost of 2 cartons of milk is $5.50. What is the unit price? So again, we're going to be setting this up like we did on the one on top. It's $5.50 for 2 cartons of milk. But how much does it cost for 1 carton of milk? What is the cost of just 1 carton? So I could, again, write this out. 2 cartons. Instead of 2 cartons, we're looking for 1 carton. And how much does it cost for that? What's the unit rate for 1 carton of milk? So instead of using a question mark, I'm going to change this to a variable, just getting used to variables. You guys are going to be seeing a lot more variables in the weeks and years to come as you do math. And I'm going to cross multiply this time. I'm going to use the butterfly method. So I'm doing it a little bit backwards this time. It really doesn't matter when or how I cross multiply, as long as I cross multiply. So U times 2 equals 2U. Okay, we got that. And then I'm also going to do $5.50 or 5 5/10 or 5. So I'm going to fix that decimal. 5 50/100 times 1, and that is 5 50/100, right? Or 5 5/10. I'm going to take these two products and make my equation. Okay, so I'm going to take 550 or 5 50/100 equals 2U. And to get that U by itself, I'm going to divide by both sides by 2. U divided by 2 is, or I'm sorry, 2U divided by 2 is just U by itself. And $5.50 or 5 50/100 divided by 2. I'm going to do that on the side here. 2 goes into 5 2 times, and 2 times 2 is 4. So 5 minus 4 is 1. I'm dividing with a decimal, and because I don't have a decimal in the divisor, just the dividend, I'm just going to move this decimal up, put it right there. So let's see here. And now I'm going to drop down this 5 and put that there and say 2 goes into 15. Let's see. 2 times 7 is 14. So 15 minus 14 is 1. Bring down that 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. And I have nothing left over. So U equals 2 75/100. So I could say the unit rate, or what is the unit price? The unit price, let's do this in green. The unit price or the unit rate. You could also say the unit cost. The unit price is $2.75 for 1 carton of milk. Okay. So these two examples are pretty good. We've got very similar scenarios, though, where you're looking for the unit cost of classes for Gerald, his yoga classes, and then the unit cost of milk for buying cartons of milk. There's one now down below that we're going to do, number 3. And like I said before, if you want to take a break, come back to this, you can. You can always pause the video and come back to it. I want to make sure you're taking detailed notes, though. So continuing with question 3, a cruise ship travels 20 miles in 50 minutes. How far does the cruise ship travel in or per minute? So what is the unit rate of travel per minute? This time we're not talking about cost, right? We're not talking about how much does it cost for one thing. We're talking about how fast does a ship travel in 1 minute. So I'm going to set this up very similarly to what I had before. I'm going to set up an equivalent ratio. And I'm going to say 20 miles in 50 minutes equals how many miles in 1 minute? Now, of course, I'm not going to use a question mark. I'm going to take this question mark out and I'm going to put in a variable. I've been using the variable u, so I'm just going to continue with that for unit rate. All right, now some of you might see this and be like, okay, I can already figure this out. I can turn a 50 into a 1 by dividing it by 50, and that means I have to divide 20 divided by 50 as well. So you could do that too. I'm going to use the butterfly method this time because I think that that's the easiest for me to visualize, and I think that many of you can rely on the butterfly method when all else fails. So here we go. 20 times 1 equals 20. And then I'm going to cross multiply our 50 minutes times u. So 50 times u equals 50u. Okay, then I'm going to take these products and make my equation. I use blue. 20 equals 50u. Now to get this 50 or the u all by itself, to get rid of this 50, I can divide by 50 on both sides. And these cross out, and I'm left with u by itself. So u is 20 over 50. Well, I can eliminate these zeros and say u is 2 over 5. Well, what does that mean? We don't really know. That 2/5 of a minute. I think what we need to do is actually find the decimal answer here for this. So I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to divide it by 5. So 5 goes into 2 0 times. So I'm going to place a decimal there and then a decimal in my quotient. And then I'm going to add a 0 next to the 2 to make 2 and 0 tenths. So 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. Okay, so what we've got here is that the ship travels let's see, 0 and 4/10 miles for every minute that it travels. I guess we could have said 2/5 miles for every minute that it travels as well. That would have been fine. I kind of got that mixed up in the beginning. But yeah, so we could write here the unit rate is 4/10 of a mile for every minute. So I could say the cruise ship travels 0 and 4/10 miles, 0 and 4/10 of a mile per 1 minute. So in this case, the unit rate isn't money. It's not per dollar. It's per minute the ship traveled. So the ship travels 4/10 of a mile per minute. You could also say 2/5 of a mile per minute. That would have been acceptable as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, good luck on the other pages. Um, we will be going over the questions and answers of the other pages in class, but please attempt them beforehand so that if you have any questions, you can ask them in class. And of course, feel free to send me emails to ask questions. I'm there for your support. Have a great day, everybody, and thank you for taking notes with me. Look at the link, the next link in the playlist for the next page of notes. Take care.